Exomologiste tokirio te agathos alleluia.
Otis ton neona to eleos aftu hallelujah.
How you doing, my friend?
Yeah.
What's your name?
Robert.
Huh?
Robert.
Robert, how you doing? Where you from?
Good. Australia.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
How
You came
come
all the way from
Allah has
Australia?
two
Yes.
right hand and one shin?
How much you want? How much you want?
Huh?
I've got £1.
Yeah, give.
Go, go, go. Hey,
Give.
Has anyone got change?
I will
Please,
give
stop
to
it.
your wife. She's in Soho. Your wife is in Soho.
Look.
Your wife is in Soho.
Look.
I will give to your wife.
Look.
She wants money. Your wife.
It's a Christian. It's a Christian.
Which wife? Which
You're
wife?
Christian, yeah?
Your 9-year-old wife is in Soho.
You condone
Your
this?
9-year-old wife is in Soho.
Look, there's a Christian.
Your
don't condone this.
9-year-old wife is
Look,
in
there you go. Hey, 20p, 20 pence. 20 pence. Take it.
Give it to her.
Take it, no, you need
She's
it.
as old
You
as
need it.
9-year-old.
You
All
need
right,
it.
Ali,
She's
Ali,
as
come
old
on.
as
Come on,
Aisha.
Ali.
She's
Ali.
as old as
20
Aisha.
pence.
Come on.
She's as old as Aisha.
Sorry.
She's as old as
20 pence.
Aisha.
No, sure.
20
Give it to
pence.
me.
20 pence.
Can you hold it like from your angle? Yeah.
Give it to your wife and mother in Soho. They are both in Soho.
20
Your mother is in Soho.
20p.
Your mother is in
20p.
Soho.
20p.
And your wife is in Soho.
20p.
Your third wife is in Soho.
Third
So
wife.
please,
third wife is
it's
in
okay.
Soho.
Okay.
Stupid.
I don't have a third wife.
Ali hijab.
Let's
Oh,
go.
Ali Dawah.
All right.
All right.
Ali Dawah.
And you can see,
Tera
guys.
khawa kar denge.
All right.
Now, let's go. Robert.
Now.
You came all the way from Australia.
All for you, man.
Man,
All
I
for
feel special.
you.
I don't know any
Yeah.
Muslims that came all the way from me, but this Christian guy has. Fantastic. Let's go. What's
All right.
You know my argument?
I know your argument, but what I want to do is also share from a slightly different angle a similar argument that we have in our own in-house discussions.
Okay.
Okay. So, have you heard of the Flatland analogy from Carl Sagan? Are you familiar with Carl Sagan?
Why Allah has two right hand and
Sister,
one shin?
please. Okay.
Sorry.
Have you seen movies like Interstellar? Like Christopher Nolan's Interstellar? Okay. All right. The analogy is
not into
this.
movies.
The analogy is this. In fact, I think this topic, we can build bridges in this context with respect to what ultimately happens, and that's what you and I both believe in, and that is the day of resurrection, that ultimate day. Also in the context where we will see Allah's face. Right? Okay. Now, the Christian model has a mechanism by which, of how we can see Allah's face. And my question always to Muslims is the mystery of how that happens. And this comes now down to this Trinity model and all the, the shapes that you're doing and so on. So the analogy that I will use is this. Imagine a flatlander, okay? He only knows length and width, but there's no such thing as up in that.
3D. It doesn't know 3D.
Exactly.
It's 2D.
Exactly. Now, if I were to communicate to this being from up, notice that from my vantage point, with just a one-dimensional advantage, I can omnisciently and omnipresently see where he is, but from his vantage point, he is locked in a Cartesian plane at any given moment. So if I said, hey, go to the left, or go to the right, or go forward or back, he will agree, he can do that. But if I said go up, the word up is alien, foreign. So the only way for me to then try and communicate an up or down is for me to break myself down into his level. Now let's just say, if I go into Flatland and I stick my finger into Flatland, what shape will he see?
He would just see he wouldn't see it going in. He would just see a block.
No. Remember, Flatland is 2 dimensions.
Yeah, no. So if you put it down, from his perspective, you just see an object in front of him.
He won't see any. No, so imagine again, it's hard to conceive, but imagine we are Flatlanders. We're only dealing with lines in 2-dimensional space. So, what line can my 3-dimensional cylinder finger form when I go in?
Straight line.
Exactly, but it'll be a circle because it's a cross section, right? So that means as I'm entering the plane, a small circle will enlarge to a big circle. If I put 3 fingers in, 3 fingers will appear. Now, let's just say hypothetically, I went to Mr. Flat, and I went zhit, like zhit, and I went to Mrs. Flat, and I went zhit. They have a theological debate. Mr. Flat says, I saw 1 circle. Mrs. Flat says, I saw 3 circles. The irony is, you're both correct. And now here's where eschatology comes into play. For Mr. Flat and Mrs. Flat to have a concept of me, a three-dimensional being, just like how you will one day see Allah's face when the veil is removed, means we have to transcend this reality somehow, like an upgrade.
Yeah, of course.
Right? Because Allah is far beyond our reality, right? So, imagine then, Mr. Flat is, say, depressed. Even Mrs. Flat, like how do I conceive of 1 and 3? What does that mean? They don't even realize I'm even more complicated just than 3 or 1 circle.
Yeah.
So what I have to do, I can still go into their plane, and I can pick Mr. Flat up, and now notice something new is happening to him. I'm pushing him up into a third-dimensional level and transforming him. The early church called it theosis, glorification. I'm transforming him into a three-dimensional mold, and now he can see what up looks like, and now he can be face-to-face with me. That's how I would defend the Trinity or theosis, glory.
How does that answer the question of God, Jesus being fully God and fully man? Because they're distinct shapes. This is a triangle. If we say this is human and God is square,
Right.
you cannot have a triangle square.
Right,
correct?
right. No, you can't.
Okay,
You can't.
so we're saying, how could you say fully God and fully man?
yes.
Logic was like, oh, you can bring the shapes together. That's not my argument. Oh, you can put a triangle in the square. That wasn't my argument. It's heresy. And that's why he did a terrible job. My argument is the following. Can you have a independent, dependent being?
I would say yes.
Okay.
And I'll
How? Tell
okay.
me how you can have an
excellent.
independent, dependent being.
Yes. Okay. So
I'll become a Christian.
Can I use this card? Okay. Now a Christian will say you can't have these. So I'll use to the camera. You can't have these like that. You can't.
No logic said he might be able to.
No. I'll explain what he meant by the bigger shape and all that.
Yeah, that's heresy.
But I'll also share what I believe, which I believe is also in line with the Nicene Creed, all that stuff. The belief is that, say this is me, the three-dimensional being, and say this is Mr. Flat in his two-dimensional level, okay? And then just say hypothetically, the whole virgin birth thing. So Jesus' body is a Mr. Flat, right? But the Christian argument is that this three-dimensional being is going to be in the controls of a Mr. Flat body. The whole incarnation concept is the Logos in hypostasis with the body. Like, in other words, you believe in a soul that controls, say, the mind. Substance dualism. So you have your physical body, but then your very soul itself is the driver, so to speak, of your physical body.
They're both dependent.
Of each other, yes.
Yeah, but the soul is also dependent.
Or based on dependent on who?
No, it's dependent even with the creator, the independent being.
Yeah, but the soul is dependent ultimately because Allah makes you exist, right?
The soul doesn't depend on the body. When we die, our body decays. The soul carries on living.
Yeah, but the soul's very existence can't be. It can't be causing its own existence. Allah is maintaining its existence.
No, of course.
Exactly.
It is post-eternal.
Yes.
But it was created at one point.
Yes, but the
God
soul.
Almighty is pre-eternal and post-eternal. That's why he's independent.
But the human soul would be still a creature.
Of course.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So now notice this. The Christian argument is that we have a perfect man, Jesus, but he's perfect because he's able to overcome this thing called entropy, thermodynamics, error, sin, because there's a very interesting bottleneck happening between a finite, dependent, fleshy, Mr. Flat thing and a higher three-dimensional, obviously independent being, right, will be at the controls of that Mr. Flat body. In other words, forgive me for saying this, but I'm saying it for the sake of argument. Obviously, Allah is omniscient, right? So imagine Allah omnisciently controlling finite controls versus a soul, which is finite, controlling finite controls. Naturally, the two will be prone to corruption and decay and sin. But Allah is not intimidated by finite controls because he can control it perfectly despite the bottleneck between what's a finite object and him being this grand eternal being. But the only way for them two to work, obviously they can't be fused. They have to be in hypostasis, which is next to each other.
you said they cannot be fused.
Yes.
That is our argument. Nobody said them being, for example, next to each other, argument's sake, when we see God Almighty, we're going to be dependent beings seeing the independent.
Yes,
Good.
exactly.
No,
But the question is how?
Listen,
How?
But
Yes.
we are not the independent, and the independent is not the dependent.
Exactly.
So we're saying,
yes.
look,
You're getting it. Yes.
independent. No, I'm not getting it. You're not understanding.
No, I'm agreeing with you.
No, you
In
agree
fact,
with
this is
me?
why I became a Christian from
that's
atheism.
good, that's
Yeah.
good, but you
yeah.
need to come to the final
Okay.
stage, which is Islam.
Okay,
Yes, the
okay.
final stop. You
Yeah,
haven't
yeah,
got
yeah.
there. The boss
Yeah.
is not yet.
Yeah.
I'm saying, yeah. By the way, it's lovely talking to you.
Okay,
You're
thank you,
very
thank you.
gentle. You're
Yeah.
respectful.
Thank you.
And I appreciate
Yeah.
it. I just want to have a dialogue. I don't want to
Yeah.
insult anybody.
Yeah.
I'm like, got no logic saying that you can desecrate the Quran. I will never desecrate the Bible.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is this: we're not saying they cannot be next to each other.
But Orthodox Christianity is saying that.
What we're
Yeah.
saying is the following: fully God and fully man.
Yes.
It's like infusion. You're saying they are, and I'm saying
Yes.
that is the thing. You cannot have a fully God, fully man in one body. It is an impossibility.
Okay, so
you can't, 'cause
okay.
if I say
Yes.
to you,
Yes.
okay, how many shapes?
2.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're saying if you join them together, it's an impossible existence. You cannot have.
Of course.
That's our argument. That's what's my argument.
But I'm saying that's not Orthodox Christianity either.
No. It is because the
It's
thing
not,
is this.
it's
Look,
not.
you cannot have an independent dependent.
No.
Correct?
But Ali, with all due respect,
Yes.
I think probably that's why you're disagreeing, because I would agree with you.
Exactly.
But I'm saying that's not what Orthodox
what
Christians
you're
believe.
saying is an impossible existence that you can have a fully God, fully man.
Okay, so
not infusing each other.
so let me
It
clarify.
doesn't work.
Okay, so let me
It's an
clarify.
impossible existence.
So let me clarify what the model is saying.
Yes.
Mr. Flat, okay?
Yes.
If I'm entering his plane of existence, the very fact that I'm entering his plane of existence, because see, I am omnipotent. I'm all powerful to be able to do that.
Yeah.
In fact, imagine here's a big plane for you. Here's Mr. Flat, Mr. Flat. Notice this. I'm omnipresent. I can go 3 fingers here, 1 finger here simultaneously, right? Now, the very fact that there's a cross-section circle emerging in their reality is that hypostatic union in that analogy.
No.
Because this independent finger is also simultaneously causing a dependent circle around my finger to be an interaction with Mr. Flat's land.
No.
That's the point.
That is their perception that they're having. It's not a reality. Because they are two-dimensional, they have a perception of what it looks like. In reality, it's 3D.
But how is the 2D? How is the circle appearing?
No, because
in that context,
of a
who's caused?
three-dimensional action happening.
Yeah, but
on a two-dimensional plane.
But I'm modifying that plane, aren't I?
No. I know, but still, a three-dimensional thing is going into a two-dimensional land.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is, though, still there are two distinct things. One is 3D. One is 2D.
The 2D circle, yes.
So what I'm saying is, can you have an independent dependent? You said no. Can you have an all-knowing ignorance?
Again, the independent dependent, I said no in the context of fusing it,
That's
which
what I'm
is
saying,
which is not the Orthodox belief of the Incarnation.
But it's an impossible, logically, rationally to say something. It's like me saying I am fully a rhino and fully a man.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's
Yeah,
what
yeah,
I'm saying.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm saying you cannot
Yeah,
come
yeah.
and say just because you said something, it doesn't exist in the real world. It's an impossible existence.
Okay.
You cannot,
Okay.
Can you have an all-knowing ignorance?
Wait.
Answer this,
Wait.
please. What was
Yeah.
it? Can I ask?
Yeah.
Can you have an all-knowing ignorance?
All-knowing ignorance.
Yeah.
So I would say that. So I hold to what's called a neo-Apollinarian view of that creedal formulation.
Forget the creed. I'm just
Wait.
asking.
It's a model. That the mind of Christ is that. When you said all-knowing, and what was the other one?
I'm asking Christ. I'm saying, can you have an all-knowing ignorance?
Okay, ignorant. So the mind of Christ, the mind is part of the body, right? The mind obviously is growing, right? Because it's developing from baby up to adulthood. I'm talking about the mind. I'm not talking about the soul part.
Yeah.
The Christian argument is that the soul is the seat of emotion, so to speak. The soul, substance dualism. The soul is the one that activates the mind. The mind is the mechanism by which you can move, say, fingers, you can think, and so on. I'm saying that the soul, you as a person, Ali Dawah, you are not the brain, you are not that, you are the soul. So the Christian argument is the Logos is seated, so to speak. So this eternal Logos is seated in a finite seat, controlling the finite levers of the brain of that body, perfectly because he's eternal and he can perfectly control it and hence not sin.
He said it's fine. Can you have an all-knowing ignorance?
So there you go. Yes, in the sense that you're not fusing
You know
it.
what you're doing?
You're not fusing it.
You're thinking from a Christian perspective.
Wait.
Can we put our Islam and Christian hat aside? Can you have an all-knowing ignorance?
Yes. Here's why.
Please.
Here's why.
Please tell me and give me an example of an all-knowing ignorance. I'm going to accept Christianity.
Here's why.
Please. But please demonstrate it.
Mr. Flat, right? Is Mr. Flat ignorant? Is Mr. Flat ignorant? In this analogy. From my bird's eye view, because I'm a high dimensional plane, I'm all-knowing. Now, I decide to enter his plane.
You become ignorant.
No.
Good. So you
That's the point.
No, 1 second. You kind of.
That's the point. Wait. Let me finish. I do not become ignorant, but the cross-sectional circle that emerges is a finite object. That's the point.
No. Can you become ignorant, an all-knowing ignorant? Can you be an all-powerful weak?
So that circle that appears,
Please.
that circle that appears is part of his plane.
Please answer.
But I'm still
put
still
Christianity-
sovereign. I'm
look,
still
put
transcendent.
Christianity and Islam to a side. Can you have an all-powerful weak?
If you're fusing it, no.
Good. Can you have an all-knowing ignorance?
If you're fusing it, no.
Okay. Can you have an independent dependent?
If you're fusing it, no. But wait, before you go.
You see when you take
Before you go,
Christianity out?
no. But that's a straw man. I'll just say this
I
one.
think it's a
No,
no-man.
wait. That's a straw man because we have this thing called hypostases where you don't fuse it.
It's an impossibility.
You have an ignorant, all-knowing in hypostases, not a
Wallahi,
mix.
That's an impossibility.
That's not. That's why the early church had that
That's
hypostasis
an
model.
impossibility. An independent dependent, a
And then
married bachelor,
but
all-knowing,
Ali,
all-knowing ignorant,
Ali,
and all-powerful weak. Opposite.
Ali, in conclusion,
That's what we're doing.
in
The attributes from the two natures, they don't mix.
yeah, they don't mix.
It's an impossible
But
existence.
in conclusion, well, how do we see
Can
Allah's
you have a
face?
triangle square?
Of course not.
That's my point.
But that's if you
Ali.
try to mix the two shapes into
No,
one shape.
you
We
cannot.
don't mix the two natures.
You
Yes.
cannot have two opposites in the same place.
Well, you do in the Flatland analogy.
Exactly. Okay, guys.
No, in the
My wife is watching. She's going to be upset. I'm a married single. Yes.
No,
I'm a
that's
single
not-
married. Wait, let me give disclaimer. I don't want to die when I get home. It's for the argument.
Ali,
I'm a married single.
answer me this one thing, please.
Come on, guys,
To build a
come on.
bridge, answer me
Come
this
on.
one thing. How do we see Allah's face? What is the mechanism by which Allah can?
We don't know. But what we know is that Allah is not us and we're
But
not
why?
Allah.
Okay, with all due respect,
I'm
why
still dependent.
is it when I ask Muslims we don't, questions
Because
about?
we are not as loose as you are when it comes to the doctrine of Allah. We're very careful. to
Like when I
what we
ask
say.
about historical details like the Pharaoh drowning, who's the Pharaoh, they say we don't know, we just trust the Quran.
No, we don't know.
But Christians always want the know. They always want to know the mechanism.
No, because you guys speak without having respect to your belief of God. You come and say God is a man. God can eat. You're disrespecting your belief
No,
system.
but that's what's revealed to
We
us.
are not as loose.
But that's what's revealed to us.
I need to pray.
Okay, no worries, mate. Thank you. All right, thank you. All right,
That's all the thing, guys.
thanks, man.